Hello, welcome, welcome. Straight to the question. Have you ever wondered why there's miscommunication, particularly with languages? You're new to a language or whatever. You notice why there's miscommunication, or wonder why native speakers kind of question you and they react in certain ways. Well, I discovered several things, but 4 ways plus one to grow out of it. So, things take time. Things take time. Being natural, as for some people who have already seen some of my videos here, I do things kind of more naturally, but also sort of spiritually, psychologically, maybe scientifically. I don't know. I'm just sharing with you my experience, and I do know that things take time. Being natural is one of the things that have led me to really get out of that discomfort of like studying, perfecting, all that stuff, right? And people always chuck it up to, I've heard this so many times. They chuck it up to like hard work, motivation, all that stuff. But I noticed as I grew older, as I get older, is that it all comes down to being patient and listening and being natural. So it all comes down to that childlike innocence, that thing that we always had, the thing we were born with. Even in research on language acquisition, it's called the language, what is it called? The acquisitional device. We were born with it. We never lose it, right? So I just wanted to point out that even in the way I said the introduction, you notice how I said I didn't give you solutions. I said growing out of it, because things take time. We evolved as humans to be a certain way, to do certain things. We have this understanding. Not all of us have the tools for this stuff, and I'm here to show you the tools that I've used. So it's also about taking that first step. And when I say taking that first step, I don't mean go for it, perfect it. We have to get out of that whole this right here. We have to get out of that whole thing and really be in touch with what's inside. It's plain and simple. But many times, some people don't know how to do that. They don't know how to work they don't know how to work with their intuition, their body, their instinct, their creativity. They don't have this, right? People who often get into languages, I notice, either have it one way or the other. They either need to do it or they want to do it. I would say it's neither, because language is a tool. All languages are sounds. Okay? Languages are sounds, and they have different meanings, but based on what? Culture, personality, right? Which comes to the things that actually, I guess you can say, are factors or things that affect. I don't want to go into the negative here, but the miscommunication, or there's a sort of a lack of flow, right? If you think of the words like in English, when we say the word what versus what, or versus what, body language, behavior, how we say it. So culture, which is collective behavior, I call it collective behavior. Personality, which is individual behavior. Those two main things do affect language, but also the way it is from one culture to the other. When people learn a language, literally like they study it, what happens is that because it's studied, because it's very mental, they carry over pre-acquired culture, pre-acquired personality, where personality is personality, into that other language. Right? It gets transferred over. So this creates a very it creates uniqueness, which is good. It's fun. But at the same time, this is why some people get shocked. They're like, oh, what is that? It was weird. That's not how we say things, right? We get into this sort of defense mechanism thing. So this has nothing to do with whether you are the language acquirer or the language guide or the teacher. This has nothing to do with any of that stuff. This is more to do with being more natural, and it starts from the inside. So going back to the 4 things I wrote down here: culture, personality, interpretation, environment, those four things that affect or kind of are factors to what I notice, what I've observed, to acquisition. So the four things are exposure, 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 exposure. Okay? But I divide it into four types of exposure, plus one other thing I'm going to mention near the end here. The first one is exposure to the thing behind it all, which is basic culture, personality. When you get to know a friend and you talk to them and you actually hang out with them, you spend time with them. You don't ask them for their resume and say, give me your resume, your friendship resume. I'll determine whether we're friends or not. No, you just get to know them and you learn from there. You learn through experience. You learn by doing. You learn by being exposed. Number 2, exposure to bring that thing to you. Now, what is that thing? I keep saying that thing. It's that thing. It's the experience itself. So exposure means if you are in a case like where I am, where I can sometimes feel isolated, or we're in rooms, or we're in the building, we're not really socializing, bring the culture to you, bring the friendships to you, bring the experience to you online. Do video chats with friends, look for friends, look for people. And if it doesn't work, go somewhere else. Then it comes down to the third part, which is exposure to just allowing the exposure to happen through being childlike. And I've said this countless times in my experience that being childlike has a lot to do with not being child, not being an adult. It's not about comparing. It's about being in the moment. You know, when you're watching something and you're just like, you're in the zone. You're just like, wow. I've always told people that children are my teachers. I learn from them. So I follow what they do. I just learn to have fun. Okay. But now comes down to the fourth part, which is, besides being childlike, it's also about, I guess you can say, making time. I was going to say practice, but not really practice as in it. I have to really force this. But yeah. Practice, but natural, learning to trust yourself, learning to be more just in the moment, right? I wrote down a quote here that just came to me. It was just like this divine inspiration. When there's a goal, it's a focus towards the end. When there's a plan, it's a focus towards intention. But when there's a journey, it's a focus on trust. And why trust? Well, because you're in the moment. If you focus too much into destiny, we tend to do this so naturally, I wouldn't say naturally, we're basically brainwashed to do it. So that fourth part here is practicing or making time for being childlike, spontaneous, simple, open to growth, loving, open to being creative. Allowing that intuition is just like, okay. Not letting the ego take over and say, I don't want this, man. I just, and then go right into the negative part. You're not manifesting much when you force things. We live in a society like that still today, where we're forcing things, and I'm still learning from that. This isn't about perfection. This isn't about me being right. This isn't about any of that stuff. I'm sharing with you what I'm experiencing. So one of the things I kept learning was the messages I keep getting from people like Gabby Bernstein, and other teachers, either experienced people who have more experience, or people who just have had experiences. Even myself, I keep getting, get out of your own way. Get out of your own way and learn to trust again. And I'm still learning to do that. It's like sometimes I'm like, I'm not in the zone, I'm not feeling it. And so when I put a video, when I post a video, or when I say something to other people, it's not inspired, it's not real, it's a force. It's like, I'm like doing it because I want to. Yes, we have desire. Yes, we have want. But, call it spirituality. But does it really matter what you call it? No. What matters is that we don't force anything. The essence of their learning, children, is because they're trusting. They're naturally patient. If they fall, what happens? You get back up. You laugh at things. Learning to laugh at yourself, that's another one. Okay. And the fifth one, kind of like a bonus, is really just let it go. Get out of your own way. Right? Everything is connected. Manifesting it, all that belief, the thoughts, the attitude we have, the emotions. For me, I learned to stop working on it. And there's that thing that comes in my head that goes like, I want to be perfect. I want to be perfect. I want to be perfect. I get out of it by taking simple things like breathing, meditating. Yes, as far as my posts go, there's the Wim Hof method, there's yoga, there's Qigong, whatever. Anything to ground myself that I notice will quiet the mind and be like, so if anything, it's not about practicing, it's about making time, because I learned to appreciate more of it. And I got tired of victimizing myself. I got tired of playing this perfectionist role, this what the world wants me to be, what my ego wants me to be kind of thing, right? So I try to have fun, right? I have fun. I enjoy it. I really just like, if I'm trying too hard even to enjoy it, that's when I start to feel like, okay. Once it becomes practice, the more you'll actually realize, okay. It starts with going back to the body. Again, going back to the body, going back to the body. Because the body will be able to also sense the emotions and the thought. It becomes a grounding, like, it pushes you down there, right? It goes like, ooh. When I say pushes, I don't mean like in a negative way. I mean like, it's just grounding. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, you get what I'm saying? See, intuition right here. If you're scared like me, which I have lots of fears, joy, gratitude, and trust are there. It's always there. And I'm still learning it myself. So, and when those things happen, there are actually no limits. It's not the forced belief of, I have no limits, I'm going to force it. I'm going to be courageous about. Courage comes from, it's not even the word itself. The real effect of it all, the real thing that causes it all to flow is to go with the flow. Right? One of my favorite quotes from Doctor Strange was when the Ancient One says, you cannot beat a river into submission. It's as simple as that. So it's more than just getting the information, even in this video itself. It's more about practicing. There are some stuff, I'm going to post some links, I'm going to suggest some books actually you can start reading that actually have helped me. It could be simple things like shadow work books, manifesting books, anything. People have heard these before, but when you need to make little bits of time. Remember, it's the little bits that count. Little bits that count. Okay? So, question for the end of this is, I want to ask you guys, do you want to feel more natural with your communication? That is fluency. Well, if so, pause for a moment and feel it. What does your intuition and instinct, or both, or either one, say about that feeling? It's about the feeling. So again, I'm going to post that question at the end of this video, or in the comments below. But in any case, feel free to comment below. I'm going to also link some, I think 1 or 2 videos in here after all this stuff, and I will see you guys later. Be natural. Exposure, 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 growth, growth, growth. Hope to see you guys later. Thank you so much for listening. Namaste.